Welcome to another episode of The Breakdown. Oh, we've got a little bit of a show tonight, folks. I don't know if we're calling this an emergency episode or a rapid response episode or whatever, but there's been this development in Alberta politics that we absolutely have to talk about. Of course, what I'm referring to is the meeting that was held by the Alberta Party. I don't know if I can still call it that. I guess we'll find out in a minute.
Legally, yes.
Um, the Alberta Party is going to be changing their name. They're bringing some new people on board. Sounds like, in order to get the inside scoop, we are sitting down tonight with the interim leader, I believe, and there's going to be some questions on that too. Lindsay Amantea. Lindsay, thank you so much for joining us, and I'm reasonably sure I just screwed up your name. I do that every time we meet.
Amantea.
Every
Amantea. All the A's are the same, friend.
I know, and yet
Every time. It's okay. The highlight of our, I'll tell you from our meeting last night was I screwed up every single speaker's name.
excellent. So I'm
So
in
we're
good.
on brand.
Okay. I want to talk about this name change business because this has the potential to have some very real ramifications for Alberta politics, but it's certainly going to make the Premier of Alberta lose her goddamn mind. So, but before we get into the nuts and bolts of that, I want to get into, like the Alberta Party has been um, quiet for a year now or so, give or take. I would like to know the story of how did the Alberta Party go from hibernation to where we are today?
So what I would say is, while it may seem like on social media we've been hibernating, we've actually been out in the real world with real people, Nathan. So we've been attending festivals, we've been engaging with members, we have been talking to people. Some people you might recognize. And so while we have been less active on social media, and I will say that part of that is because I currently run the social media and I live my life in the real world. Um, this is not a punch down on you. I'm sorry.
Hey,
It's so
hey.
mean. I'm gonna start this by just being so mean to you. No, we've been trying to engage with people in the spaces they want to engage in, and increasingly that's not on social media. And so to that end, like I said, we've been attending festivals, we've been hosting workshops around the province, and really trying to find ways to rebuild, re-engage. When I took this position, almost 18 months ago now. Um, I told you on this very podcast, the purpose of this was to rebuild the party into something that was worth leading. And that is still the goal. That is still the aim. And I think we're starting to get there. And so I will tell you, I was actually quite a late convert to the idea of changing the name. Um, and so lots of people on our board and otherwise have talked about for a while, why don't we just, call a spade and rebrand, and really, try to reclaim that legacy of centrism that has always existed in Alberta. And I was one who I really love the name of the Alberta Party. I love the idea of the Alberta Party. And and I was part of and remember, sort of the dying days of the Progressive Conservative Party of Alberta, and did not want to repeat and do not want to repeat some of the reasons it ended up where it did. And so it honestly took until this summer for me to really come around to the idea of, rebranding into something that's more recognizable for the electorate. At the end of the day, it, what is in a name? Well, it turns out a lot. We've been polling for the last couple of months about what it would look like to have a renewed and a rebranded Alberta Party with under the Progressive Conservative name. And when I say that, I mean a truly progressive, conservative, centrist party. Building on the legacy of Peter Lougheed and the radical centrism of the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. And um, it has absolutely blown me away, the response we get from people across the board about this. One of the biggest issues with the Alberta Party, that our candidates have run into traditionally has always been, and you remember, well, what does the Alberta Party stand for? And and then you go into your elevator pitch of, well, radical centrism, neither left nor right, et cetera, et cetera. And so for me, this is really just a shortcut so that people understand what we're doing. And to that, it's not a change in direction of the party. It is simply a change in name. And I after we put up a very brief comment on social media last night following the meeting, I think it hit home because I have been called both I don't think anyone's called me a fascist yet, but we're getting there. I've also been called a shill for the NDP. So we're back, guys.
I mean, that's the core of the Alberta Party right there,
Yeah,
is being accused of being everything. But it's, and full disclosure, I always assume that people just know, but full disclosure, I did run for the Alberta Party in
it's
2019.
it's been a while.
It's
It's been a
been
while.
like 6 years. I
6
feel like
years. Yeah.
I'm clear of it. But the so a couple of things that you gave me that I want to try to unpack a little bit there. Um, and one of them is I mean, when you referenced the last time that you were on the show, and I absolutely was like, so is the Alberta Party a home for progressive conservatives? That was like a year ago. And you were
Yeah.
like, yes. You weren't like, yes, in the same sense of like, we're naming the party that.
Yeah.
So there's also like another piece here that has to somehow fit into what you just described, because uh, the worst kept it's not even a secret, is there were a couple folks in attendance in that meeting yesterday, and they've been very, very clear in media that they were having conversations with the Alberta Party about uh, rebranding, because Danielle SMith had a press conference and she was like, they cannot change their name. She refused to allow Scott Sinclair and Peter Guthrie to start a new party under the Progressive Conservative banner. How did that happen? Like, did Peter Guthrie and Scott Sinclair come to the Alberta Party and go, we think there might be a loophole here? Or did Lindsay Amantea go to the Scott Guthrie, Pete Guthrie, Scott Sinclair, and go, "Hey, I've got a pitch for you." Like, how did that happen?
So, as all good things, it happened at Stampede. And so
Is that though? All good things happen. It's because I can think of a few things.
I mean, I didn't say everything that happened at Stampede was a good thing.
Okay.
But if you remember the timing, they announced solidly in the middle of Stampede week. And so of course they were both in town for, the political rodeo. We might not have the Hayes breakfast anymore, but we've still got the circuit. And so we had the opportunity at a number of different events to touch base and to really, see if we were on the same page about what we wanted for the province and what we want to do. And, following Stampede, we kept meeting, and one thing has led to another. And ultimately, I will take credit for the loophole. Uh, they came to us with a group, a big group. It's not just the two of them by any stretch. Um, uh, uh, and the idea, and we, I everyone knows I'm a lawyer. I'm not subtle about it. And so, read through the legislation, really looked for what we could do to make it work. And it turns out, yes, there is a loophole in the legislation based on how it's written. And so to that end, we are submitting, paperwork to Elections Alberta as we speak. And ultimately it will be up to Elections Alberta as to what they're willing to accept.
So, okay. And you had your meeting last night. So for clarity, I'm going to do everything I can to get this up on tomorrow, which is Friday. But for
Yes.
clarity, we're recording this on Thursday, the 28th. Um, eh, you had your meeting last night because the party had to ratify, approve a possible name change. Can you talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, so the Alberta Party Constitution does require a special general meeting of the party in order to change anything in the Constitution, which includes the name. And so notice was sent out to all of our memberships. People were there was a period of time where people could buy memberships leading up to the vote. We had uh, more people than I think I've ever hosted on a Zoom attend virtually because we wanted to make sure that everyone we were really keen on having as many people participate as possible. And that goes for people who were very pro the idea, people who were reticent, people who were against it, and making sure that everyone had their voice heard. And ultimately, the vote was overwhelmingly in favor of moving forward with a name change.
What was the percentage?
It was 94%.
That is
I'm gonna say it
overwhelming.
slowly because my laptop died right at the end of it. And so I pulled the reports, but I haven't actually read them. Um, and then we did I mean it's not a secret, we did provide some prospective names and had people the members rank them in order of in a preferential ballot of what they liked. Um, I don't profess to be a communications human, and so naming things should not be left to me. Or
Fair enough.
saying people's names. Yeah, I do apologize to literally every person who spoke last night profusely about how badly I butchered every single person's last name.
I mean, how hard is Guthrie though? Did he speak?
uh Pete did not, but Scott did.
How hard is Sinclair? How did you say Sinclair? I want to know.
I think I just yelled Scott. But there were a number, but ultimately, it wasn't about them. It was about our membership. And one of the beautiful things about our membership is it is very diverse. And that means that I am making my best attempt at a lot of people's last names, even people I know and have known for a long time. I cannot say their last names.
Well, I
Uh,
screwed up the last name in the intro,
I was
so
gonna say you screwed up my last name in the intro, so it's and we've known each other for years, so
um okay. So we've got a couple of name change. I believe the top ranked name, and I want to make sure I get this right, the Alberta Progressive Conservative Party. Is that the
that
top?
was the top ranked one. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a logo? Are you going to redo the logo, or are you going to try to recycle um, the older logos, maybe? Or is
That's
this the
for me to know and for you to find out, my friend.
well, that's what you're on the show for. I'm trying to ask you these questions.
Um, this is not a dictatorship, and so we are actively seeking feedback.
Okay, cool. Speaking of dictatorship, leadership stuffs, I'm not going where you think I'm going. That would be too easy. I'll get to that later. But speaking of those things, um, you are the interim leader. You have said on the show before that you would never, ever in a million years consider running. I'm curious, A, does that hold? And as a supplementary, uh, can we expect to see a leadership race in the new Alberta Progressive Conservative Party?
That does hold, and we are actively working towards both having a convention in the late fall, as well as planning and starting a leadership process. So I can finally go back to throwing my dog's ball as much as he wants.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so there will be a leadership
Yes,
position.
yes, it's happening. It's coming. Like I said, I told you, and I'm sticking to it. The purpose of my of becoming the leader for me was always to turn this into something worth leading. And I really think we're getting there. And I think that with the number of people who are showing up to volunteer, who are enthusiastic, who are hopeful about what's happening right now, I am also hopeful that that means that we will have people who want to be in charge of this party and who want to lead this into the next election to make sure that we can, um, you know, put our best foot forward and run a campaign against this government.
On that note, um, and we're not getting to this government yet. We're going to save that for the end because I know it's going to get spicy.
Yes,
Um,
always.
I feel like he said cautiously, not that cautiously, that the odds are very, very good that the Alberta Party's metamorphosis to the Alberta Progressive Conservative Party will immediately find itself with two MLAs. That seems to me to be like, I haven't seen an official announcement. I'm sure there's some sort of process where Peter Guthrie and Scott Sinclair have to go into the legislature and be like, we're not independent anymore, suckers. But I, that announcement hasn't happened yet. It seems like it's a given, though, that will occur at some place in time.
I
Uh,
am hopeful that yes, they will be crossing the floor to our party.
Holy hell, that would be funny if they didn't, though.
Hopeful.
Um, are you aware of, let's play the game. Um, should people be watching for more than two MLAs in the legislature, potentially under the Alberta Progressive Conservative Party banner?
No one's called me.
Okay.
But I would suggest that there are more than a sufficient number of humans representing other humans who are not or should not be happy with how this is going. That being said, we're not here to take every single person who wants to jump ship. We will be selective should people approach us about the quality of the people who want to join us. Um, Part of the issue with the Progressive Conservative Party round one really came down to the quality of some of the people who ended up being part of that party. And, for a lot of people, it doesn't seem like it's that long ago for in my mind, but I guess now we're talking almost a decade. Um, the purpose of the creating the United Conservative Party at the beginning was to take the best parts of the PC party and the best parts of the Wild Rose and put them together and to shed some of the more problematic issues, people, history, whatever. That's not what's happened. And what we've ended up with, rather than, in a lot of ways, that vision, we've ended up with the worst parts of both of those things. And so it's not about quantity at this point. It's about quality and building the foundations right the first time and making sure that we are building both for the success of the party, but also for the success of Alberta and really making sure that we are being self-reflective and self-policing and making sure that this is not a dumpster for problematic people, and this is not um a place to go if you just want to stick it to the man. Although I mean my entire ethos is to stick it to the man. And I say that as someone who, I was a member of the Progressive Conservative Party. I voted against unity. I was obviously very outvoted And so I left. Well, I stuck around for a second there to see if the thesis held true, the best parts of both parties. It clearly didn't. So I left 8 years ago, almost 8 years ago. And so and I feel like there's a lot of people who dropped off over time who just couldn't keep going but didn't know where to go otherwise. And the Alberta Party was unable, for a variety of reasons, to capitalize on that malaise. And so this is that moment. The number of people, like the people who are coming back, are people who just haven't been involved in so long because they've just been so uninspired or disheartened by the process. They've gone on to, not most people don't want to do politics all of the time. We are a weird bunch. And
It's true.
so a lot of people have gone on to, focus on their jobs, focus on their families, focus on activities that make them healthy and happy. And I can tell you, politics is conducive to none of that. And so people have just decided to shut down. But we are seeing that hope come back, that idea that we can start to have some accountability, and and some some selflessness back in politics. We don't do this. It's an act of service, not a God-given right to be here. It is an act of service what we do, and that is how it should be viewed. And so going into this new party, those are the kinds of principles that we're trying to instill in as we grow. Yeah.
So no Eric Bouchard then. I'm sorry, but like there's certain things. I think you're bang on because I think that, to I think in 2019, to speak from my own experience,
Mm.
and I'll try not to cry as I do. But I think in 2019, there were a lot of people who were like, you know what, though? I think maybe the UCP, because it was so new at the time, maybe the
Hmm.
UCP is going to be the best of both worlds. Maybe it will have the fire and the passion of the Wild Rose, but still have the measure of the progressive conservatives. And I think that you're bang on when you say that it's the exact opposite. It's the worst of both of those things. I mean, we saw just earlier this week, and this one hurt me. It did. It was like there's like these little tiny pieces that I was like holding on to. Maybe there's some sanity inside of that party. The scandal that broke with Cyril Turton, the who's a minister who used his ministerial access to bring into the legislature. And I want to be really clear because there's this bullshit bad faith argument that's going on right now of like, oh, everybody hates Christians. No, that's not it at all. It's bigots that I don't like. It's bigots and racists. And for context, I brought the quote up while you were talking so I could nail it right. The hate pastor, as I've taken to calling him because of what I'm about to read, has called the LGBTQ+ community a cult bent on perverting and destroying the innocence of every child they can. And on abortion laws, he said that people feverishly promote the slaughter of the unborn and the newborn. So this is not, the leader of the Unitarian Church or the United Church or
Yeah,
the
this is not Knox downtown.
no.
This is not uh you know honestly, like the vast majority of Christians and religious people. It is hateful. And it's hurtful. And you're putting this up as we go into Pride weekend, so happy Pride, everybody. You'll know where I am on Sunday.
It's a
Uh,
protest. It's a protest.
it is a protest, and
And
it's going to continue
so
being a protest.
that's a bullshit.
Um,
I protest.
Indeed. But it's there's a few different things that really like irk me about that. Uh, Other than like, first off, I'd be upset about anyone going in, no matter if they were reasonable or not. It's not a place for people who are not members to be. First off, there's custom that about who's allowed on the floor of the legislature. Um, uh, Members and pages, and that's it. And very select few people. And so there's that. There's I'm particularly disgusted because of who it was. Um, but I'm sad. I'm sad that, someone we thought was otherwise a fairly even-headed human would think to do that. But it also speaks to how far um the window has moved on what is acceptable behavior in the legislature. And in the grand scheme of, what we've seen over the last couple of years and even the last couple of months, it's not the worst thing that's happened by any stretch. Um, but it is still like if this had happened, if Allison Redford had done this in 2012,
Holy.
every single human would be up in arms in this province, right? Let's look back at, sorry, what did she do? She put her child on an airplane? Is that not,
I mean, I don't think her child was a bigot. I don't know, but I'm going to assume. I like to give people
no,
the
but again, she lost her leadership over very, very similar things. But we're not even considering that as the same realm because of how much worse it's gotten. And that's just a lack of moral authority and moral leadership.
Well, and it's worse than like even the skybox. The first skybox, the Kenny skybox, not the other one that keeps getting me in trouble.
Wait, Skybox, Sky Palace. Oh, do you mean
Palace,
like the
the
bottle of
patio.
bourbon?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, they tried at least to spin it. They tried to pretend that they hadn't done anything wrong, and that
Yep.
almost is better than, oh yeah, I totally broke the rules, but I won't next time. Like that to
Yeah.
me, that
It
response
was
is,
a budget bourbon, okay?
oh, yeah,
Budget
but
whiskey. Sorry, it was a budget whiskey.
the whiskey dead. Don't call it bourbon. They'll get me here.
Sorry, apologies, apologies. I only drink bourbon, and so in my head everything is bourbon. But
But it's that degree of the thing that I find most shocking about the Cyril Turton thing is that it was just like, yes, I broke the rules. I won't do it again. And
there's no
that
remorse.
no remorse and there's no accountability because like you can say, I mean, I imagine, and I won't, this is a metaphor to be clear. I imagine if I walked up to Cyril Turton and I punched him in the face and I was like, whoa, I probably shouldn't have done that. I won't do it again. I think I would probably still have some consequences.
Like several,
Yeah.
several consequences. And
Yeah.
you want to know
As I
what? If you
should.
did that, there would rightly be consequences.
100%.
Um, and so and that's really been, the removal of the guardrails by this government has been atrocious. And it will take years, years to rebuild those guardrails and that custom and the trust with the electorate. Because the expectation is these are the things we know about. These are the things they're caught doing. What do we not know about? What's going on that we don't know yet? And may never come out because if they stop having to report things, I know that it got reversed, but it, as there's less accountability in the legislature, um, we won't even know.
Well, and we've seen like a progression here, and I think that
Mhm.
that's really important. Danielle Smith started off her term as premier, um, getting caught trying to interfere in a criminal prosecution.
Yep.
That's the ethics commissioner said that, so I can say
Mhm.
that confidently. Um, and you would think after that there'd be like a reasonable people would go like, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, so we overstepped. We got to make sure that we know what the lines are. We got to make sure we know where the guardrails are. We got to do better,
Yeah.
guys. Um,
Yeah.
and the response from this government has been, okay, so we crossed over the line. What if we just got rid of the line? What if we just got rid of
Or
it?
just like moved it into another room.
Universe. Um, like it's bonkers.
I
Okay,
was being nice.
you were. I think you probably have to be nicer than I do, though. So,
You would be
um,
surprised. But nonetheless.
I mean, you did start off by basically completely trashing me, so that's fine.
Yeah, but one, it's fun, and two, you deserve it. I'm kidding. I'm
No, it's
kidding.
true though. I do.
I
Uh,
I actually I fully intended to start this by if you were like something happened and I was gonna be like, yeah, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce got engaged, right? Like that's what we're here to talk about.
No, this
Um,
is a municipal campaign.
no, I was 100% going to call Tim Cartmel for putting up a shitty like post about.
Why did you just give me my pivot? Oh, you just gave
Okay, anyways, what are we pivoting to? We are pivoting to the ring, right?
the last time that the Alberta Party did this sort of mini implosion, there was a key figure involved. I'm curious with the machinations that we've seen over the last couple of weeks since Stampede, are there any um, what's the word I'm looking for? Historic strategists who have been involved in the process? Because I'm certain that there's going to be people looking for certain types of fingerprints, and I'm pretty
I
sure you.
have absolutely no idea who you're referring to.
Okay, Stephen Carter.
But if I
Stephen Carter
did,
involved in this?
I would say that that human is not involved. Um uh mm, but uh but I have no idea who you're talking about.
I was talking about Stephen Carter.
I know exactly who you're talking about. It's fine. He's not here.
Because he's doing the Tim Cartmel campaign too. So
Among other things, yeah.
yeah, he's
He's
got like
off doing
Calgary and
doing other stuff. He's doing Cartmel, he's doing the Calgary Party. I mean, I don't know. There's a municipal election on October 20th. Please vote for somebody.
school boards. Um,
Vote
yeah,
all the way down the ballot.
all yeah. Vote for school board trustee because there's some good names out there. And okay, like
He's
let's give you
busy.
some easy things to tee up on. We're seeing some reports today that the EPSB has their partial list of the books that they're banning. Um, the Alberta's party stance on banning Margaret Atwood, which is a bonkers question for me to have to ask anyone. But at this point in Alberta, we're at a place where all political party leaders, interim or otherwise, should be asked, do you believe that Margaret Atwood should be banned in Alberta schools?
No, I
Okay,
do
good.
not believe that. I believe that I, I personally don't believe that any books should be banned. I do think that we need to make sure that we are teaching children age appropriate material. Um, I, like I'm not a communications person, am also not a teacher. I do not have a master's in pedagogy. Big word. Um, I am not the person who should be deciding at what age a child needs to learn something. It's not my call. It shouldn't be my call. I'm really good at a bunch of stuff. This is not one of them. I think that children need to be exposed to certain things at certain ages to make sure that they're expanding their minds and are able to go and learn at their own pace. And I will say, for younger children, it's harder to determine. And it always will be because at that age, you're developing so quickly and some kids, you know, at 7 or 8 years old are going to be leaps and bounds ahead of other kids. Everyone evens out a little bit more towards high school. Some of you never grow up. Um, Nathan. But uh you part of the job of a teacher is to really be able to gauge day in and day out where those kids are and teach appropriately to that class. Um and so I just don't think um stif because where do you draw the line, right? When do we start banning books that talk about Jews, right?
Or the
Or the
Holocaust.
Holocaust, or certain kinds of religions, or certain
Religions are
lifestyles.
exempt. Religions are
Oh,
exempt
I know, I'm
because
aware.
charter rights.
Right. But when do we start calling something a religion versus being a cult? Christianity was a cult in Rome, in the ancient Roman Empire. It
You're not
was.
wrong.
It was
You're not
considered
wrong.
a cult.
But David Parker is going to be very angry that you said that.
It's history. I didn't make it up.
I don't disagree, but this is the point is that the and I'm going to throw this comment in here because I and it baffles me that I have to. I have not seen anyone arguing with any sort of authenticity that we should be showing age inappropriate materials to kids that it's inappropriate for. Nobody's making that argument.
No, they're not.
The no, the argument is, should we maybe let the experts decide what age appropriate is, as opposed to people who are just uncomfortable because they have religious beliefs or social beliefs or. And it's not a leap. It's not a leap to say, um, should we be teaching about the Holocaust in schools? Because boy, there's some really upsetting stuff in there. And also the and this is I'm gonna get you're getting me up on my soapbox here. Um, this whole policy was brought about because there are people who believe that LGBTQ2S plus people are fake. It's a social contagion, and that their own children were captured and now they have rifts in their family. And I can say all of that because I have the fucking video to do it. Um, and the there are people who believe. So if a small segment of people who have batshit crazy beliefs get to dictate an educational policy, there are people who believe the Holocaust didn't happen.
Yep.
And as ridiculous as it sounds, here we are banning Margaret Atwood from Edmonton Public School Board schools, allegedly. So it's
But the unintended consequences of this are when we start banning things and not talking to kids about hard topics, it leaves them vulnerable in situations where they are not being protected properly by people in their lives. And so whether that is things like sexual abuse, whether that is mental or other physical abuse, when we're not talking about what is normal and teaching kids how to ask questions about hard topics, we are leaving them open to not knowing when they need to ask for help. And I don't think that was anyone's intention. I am going to err on the side of, you know me, I am somehow on like be kind to everyone and have like on this train and have been for a long time.
I think it was. I honestly think it was. And
It's
if
I
you would,
don't know. I don't think I'm going to say I don't think it was intentional. I do think it will happen though. And I think I think in maybe in terms of the queer community, it's intentional. I don't think the rest of it is. I don't think anyone is sitting there going like we're waiting for someone to or we're trying to make it easier for someone to groom their child, right? Um I don't think that's the intention.
I s- I wish I could say that I agree with you wholeheartedly, but honestly, these days I don't know anymore. I mean, we have press secretaries who are stepping forward saying that the reason that the religious exemption exists is because we don't want to mess with people's charter rights. At the same time that the Premier of Alberta has said that she will consider invoking the notwithstanding clause to take away the charter rights of trans youth. So these two things are too dissonant to not be intentional. Especially when we're dealing with the comms folks. So it's
Perhaps, but what I would suggest is this. We need to be allowing you would ask me, do I think we should ban Margaret Atwood? And honestly, extrapolate that to do I believe in book bans? I don't. I don't think having certain things readily available in
for sure.
like do I think The Handmaid's Tale should be in a grade 2 class? No, I do not. I think it's pretty graphic. Um, I think it's an excellent book. I have all of the respect for the book and for the literature. I think that there is an appropriate time to read that. I mean, I didn't go to school. I didn't go to secondary, elementary or secondary in Alberta. I went to school in British Columbia. Um, some of the things I read in grade 11 and 12, I don't think I could even emotionally read today, right? About genocide and crimes against humanity. I don't think those should be easy topics. I don't think they should be secrets.
I mean,
Um, and
I would
so we can't shy away from hard things, and that I think is the the biggest takeaway is we can't shy away from hard things. We need to be teaching kids how to have hard conversations, because when you don't know how to have hard conversations with people who have views that are different than yours, you end up in a hyper politicized, hyper partisan society where everything someone says is wrong and therefore they're bad, right? This is how it keeps going. This is perpetuating the problems we're having. And so let's maybe not do that. We just need to find appropriate ways and age appropriate ways. And I'm talking all the way through, all the way up to like teaching adults how to have hard conversations. This is not just a school issue. And but it starts where you start taking away the ability to critically think um, about things in society and why things are the way they are and is it right or wrong. At the end of the day, I have always been of the belief, and we continue to, have these conversations, that it's not my job mostly to impose my opinion on people, right? I can try and convince them, you know, in the same way that I don't think you should be able to restrict abortion. I also don't think you should be forced to take a vaccine. I hope everyone does. Everyone should get a vaccine. Um, but I'm not going to force you to do it. I hope that you would do it for the good of the community. But you can't force people to have beliefs. You can't force people to do specific things with their bodies. It's not okay. And I think this is very off tangent. One of the most shocking things about Trump's first election, I apologize for the rabbit hole I'm going down now, wasn't that there was a rise in things like hate crimes or the discourse, becoming the way it was, because those things were always there. We, the woke left, I'll say we for now, thought everything was magically solved when Obama got elected. Turns out that's not true. Um, people's hearts didn't change. They just got a little quieter. And it was not the balm that everyone thought it was. And so when Trump got elected, to hear all these things again, of course, people's minds haven't changed because we never did the work of changing them, right? We outmaneuvered and then, stomped all over everyone and said, we've won now, right? But we continued to have sides and treat it like that and to other people. And that's what you see when Hillary Clinton says something like, the basket of deplorables, right? You're othering people. And it's not how we're going to bring people together. And it's not how we're going to find a way to better society. And we can't continue to do it because there will always be reasons that people feel distrustful of a government. It inherently has a lot of power over you. It has a lot of power. But what we can do is build trust by being open, by being honest, by taking accountability, and by building guardrails so that we are having consequences when those things don't happen. Because right now people don't feel like there are consequences, so they don't know what to do if things go badly. And that's what we're seeing. And so to bring it back to the Alberta perspective, that's why we're doing what we're doing right now, because if that's how we can get people elected to be better, then so be it. And that's really what brought me around to changing the name. There we go. Wrap that up all the way. Of the Alberta Party, because like I said, I love the name, I love the logo, I love the idea, I love the policy, and that's not changing. But the name is what resonates with people in this province. There's a shared history, a shared understanding, and it is a shortcut. And so for me, if this is how we win, then this is how we win. And a rose bay any other name, right?
Give me a bunch of stuff to play with there. I just want to clarify one piece because I know that there's going to be people who hear this and are going to go, "Oh, Lindsay Amantea said that people were forced to be vaccinated." That did not happen. Nobody was going door to door.
No, no, no one was
I
forced to be
know,
vaccinated, but there were consequences.
as there should be. I mean, with
Yeah.
the failure to participate in society in good faith comes the loss of privileges. That is
Yeah.
basic. And the thing that frustrates me to no end, and I think that you nailed it, is this assumption that people have that at some point the work is done. It's never going to
Yeah.
be. The biggest frustration that I have with the book bans is, the maxim goes, those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat
Doomed to
it.
repeat it.
And if we don't learn that, yes, there will always be bigots, and we need to be actively trying to demonstrate to them, here's why not being a bigot is better. Um, if we don't stop doing that work, then they're just going to continue to do their work. And that's not great because it apparently leads to book bans.
Well,
Um,
but also, more than that, and this is maybe a broader societal issue, is when you look at Gen Z, whatever you want to call them.
it's Zed. We're in Canada.
I
We're
know, I
50
know, we're not the 51st state.
Gen Z.
I actually meant to wear like an Alberta t-shirt for this interview, and then I had work. The um, but the your body, my choice, right? So that backlash, the work's not done, and more importantly now, like the boys are not okay,
Yeah.
right? And so that's we're to the detriment of young men. We have been focusing so much on young women, um, because like reasons, like valid reasons, guys, but like we need to be focusing on all of our kids and really like helping everybody and making sure that everyone feels okay. I talked to, some of the young women that I mentor in high school, and they're concerned about their male peers, because their mental health is suffering and there are no resources, because you know men can't cry or something, I don't know. um like feelings are feelings, guys, no matter who's having them. And so um those are we can't we it's the, but that's the backlash. The work is never done, but we have to keep doing it. We have to keep doing it. We have to keep doing it. um and I know it's tiring, but that's why, we let people take breaks and then we make sure we don't get burnt out. Yes, Nathan and I are the champions of definitely not burning out.
It only
100%.
happened once. It only happened once for me.
Oh, I only had one really bad one.
No, it only happened once for me, and mine was complex. We don't need to get into it.
We don't need to
Uh,
get into it. Now's not the time.
yeah. Two more questions for you, and then I'll let you go because I imagine that you probably have a job to do or something.
Yes.
Um, First question: when is the nail? When is is there a memo that goes out to say, you might have to change the first letter of the UCP at this point, because it's very clearly the fact that there's enough people who are calling for a progressive conservative option. The United Conservative Party is not united anymore. When does that happen?
Um, so it is actually up to Elections Alberta. So you may remember earlier this year, the Buffalo Party actually did change their name, to the Republican Party of Alberta. So there is a process that they created for that, that we are following. And so I don't want to give timelines because we weren't given firm timelines either. Part of that is simply because the Elections Alberta and the office of the chief electoral officer uh have some stuff going on. I don't know if you guys have noticed.
A little bit.
There's some court things going on. There's a bunch of petitions happening. Um uh things are fight like spicy in at Elections Alberta these days. And so, in consideration of that, and the fact that we're also coming into municipal, which they are still overseeing, it's ultimately it comes down to their approval. So Uh, TBD.
Are you going to have like a what is it Trump called the like the America's Freedom Day or whatever it was with the tariffs? It was going to be it's America's Independence Day.
I
Are you
mean,
going to have
I'm
like a conservative Independence Day party?
I mean, I might go find like a landscaping company and do a presser outside of it.
There you go. Last question, and then I'll just let you say anything else that you want to say. Um, Did you, when you agreed to take on the role of interim leader like a year and a half ago, um, interim, did you think that you might be the last leader of the Alberta Party?
I did not. Like I said, I am a very recent convert to the idea uh that we're or this path that we're going down. And it's actually funny after the meeting last night, someone asked me like, when you moved here 13 years ago, is this what you thought you'd be doing today? And I was like, no. I mean, we all end up, I think, in the places we need to be, sometimes. And it's no, I did not. At no point is this what I envisioned. But that's not to say that I'm not thrilled that this is where we're going.
Good answer. Anything else you want to say? Anything else you want to hear? I would ask you to plug a website, but it's
So
potentially
I'll do it anyways. I'll do it anyway. So we do still have the website up for the albertaparty.ca. My plug is the same. Join us. Everything right now is still up. You can still donate, you can still volunteer. While we wait for Elections Alberta, the work doesn't stop. And I think it's incumbent upon every single person who has even a little bit of time to put some time toward building a better Alberta. And this is it. This is how we do it. Um, we had high hopes for certain other parties that clearly haven't panned out, and I think that there's a lot of people in this province who have been tired. But this is if you needed a sign to get involved, this is your sign. So you can still go to the albertaparty.ca, sign up to be a member, to volunteer, and to donate.
Perfect. Lindsay, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today. If you could put a little bug in the ears of your future MLAs that would love to have them on the show, won't talk about anything legally incriminating. But thank you so much for taking the time to chat today. And we'll be following what goes on with the Alberta Progressive Conservative Party going forward with great interest.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that's it for another episode of The Breakdown. As always, if you appreciate the kind of content that we're trying to produce here, we would love nothing more than if you thought about signing up to be one of our Patreon sponsors at www.patreon.com/thebreakdownab, where for just the price of a fancy cup of coffee a month, you can help us continue to produce this kind of content. Whether you're listening to the audio version of the podcast, in which case, maybe leave a review and a rating, or whether you're watching it on one of our streaming platforms, we want to say a big thank you to everybody who is part of the Breakdowns audience. And as always, take care of each other and keep the conversation going.